Good afternoon or good morning wherever you are. When we think about future of work, we often talk about the millennial generation. Now, did you know that in the next 5 years, the percentage of our workforce coming from this generation will double? In fact, by the end of 2025, 75% of the global workforce will be millennials. Now, business leaders all over the world are trying to change their work culture in order to please these generations. Now, this singular focus is not without good reason. After all, they are shaping the way that we work. Now, because millennials, they grew up with social media, they're highly collaborative, they're very vocal, and they also have a strong ability to integrate technology into work as well as their daily lives. One of the things that we have also realized about this particular generation is they are very educated. In fact, they're the most educated, they are also the most opinionated and the most confident in our history. Now, research also shows that 81% of millennials do not prefer 9-to-5 work life. In fact, over the last few years, because of the booming of the tech industry, we've actually seen the demand for freelance jobs as well as part-time jobs outpacing those of the full-time work. And in emerging markets such as India and China, where you have the largest millennial populations in the world, these percentages were even higher. And one of these jobs is the live streamers. Now, here in the US and in most part of the Western world, live streaming platform is typically for entertainment as well as for gaming. But in China, live streaming platform is an important platform for consumers to seek new products and to also decide what they want to buy. And China today has the largest live streaming market in the world with more than 450 live streamers. And here is one example of a live stream host, and let's take a look at a day in her work life. With that, please roll the video.
每年我们保持3位数以上增长。
2017年美年收入大概有多少
？1300来万。
倒计时准备好，3、2、1。
I'm on my way to meet a Taobao host. Her name is Fashion Mei Da. She was number 4 on Taobao's 2017 top earners list. Guess how much she made? According to Taobao, an estimated 13 million RMB in a year, which is like a lot of money. Taobao is the largest live streaming shopping platform in China.
有点乱啊，
没关系，没关系。
这每天早上就是9点来钟起来，然后来到这边办公，然后下午4点钟在这边开播。
哎，超烦啊！哎呀妈呀，我颜色都错完了，颜色啊，还有黑呀，哎呀妈呀，黑色也可以。
我一般时长是6到7个小时，
一场，
对，
不停的
啊，连上厕所都没时间。
哇塞！
一场的话会展示70个左右产品。我是他们的一个生活买。
Well, who say that the millennials generation or strawberry generation? I mean, look at how hard she worked. But the millennial generation is not the only generation that organizations must take care of. Multi-generational workforce is actually quite common when we look at, kind of different industries all over the world. And one of the important elements of managing multi-generation is the ability to find that balance between taking advantage of the experience of earlier generation of workers, as well as the digital creativity of the millennial generation. And that's really what future of work is all about. And one of the best practices that we see in the marketplace is DHL. Now, DHL has 5 generations of workers across the entire workforce throughout the world. And for DHL, there are kind of 2 really important elements as they embark on their transformation journey. The first is about employee empowerment, and this is extremely high within the DHL organizations. They often emphasize, when it comes to training, is what's in it for the individual employee and not just for the company. Not many organizations actually do that. And the second is really setting the right KPIs for different different levels of jobs. Again, this is quite unique to such organization, which is the reason why DHL is one of the best companies to bring digital capabilities throughout the organizations from the boardroom to the front line. And from a technology vendor perspective, what's the opportunity and where can you see opportunities coming from a best practice like DHL? And organizations are trying to embark on a journey towards employee empowerment. Firstly, it's really about tech-led and persona-based use cases. Platform-led delivery model is always well received among customers such as DHL. And of course, when we talk about change management in terms of professional services and augmentation of capabilities through training as well as reskilling. But when you think about future of work, it is not just about one thing, which is why when we at IDC advise clients with regards to transformation in their work environment, we look at it from a holistic standpoint. We talk about three key elements: work culture, workforce, and workspace. Future of work, it's really about a fundamental change in the way work is being done. And simply put, work culture is really about fostering human-machine collaboration. Workforce is about enabling new skill sets as well as worker experiences. And workspace is about supporting an intelligent as well as a dynamic work environment that is unbounded by time as well as physical space. But the interpretation of future of work varies depending on who you talk to and what organization that you look at. Here are kind of 5 examples to see future of work in action around the world. The first is DBS Bank. This is a financial institution that is very well known for its digital transformation journey. And one of the things that the bank is experimenting, and it's one of its latest initiatives, is a Kickstarter-like program for employees. This is really an intelligent platform that is able to match the skill sets and experiences of employees beyond their normal work scope and the new requirements of their business. Then you have Ping An, which is now the largest insurance provider in the world, is very well known for creating new businesses for the brand. Now, one of the things that the chairman and founder is good at, and he talk about it a lot, is that when he look at recruiting and finding new talent for his startup companies, he actually emphasized on what he called wolf culture. Yes, you heard me right, wolf culture, and the emphasis is really about disruption, aggression, as well as hunger. Then you have Haidilao, which is also a Chinese brand. The founder and the chairman of the organization basically is today the richest man or the richest person in his industry, and he's made his entire wealth simply from his chain of hot pot restaurants in China as well as outside of China. In 2018, he opened up the first AI-powered restaurant, and while the focus is really around productivity and around cost reduction, food safety is also one of the primary reasons why he embarked on this change in terms of work culture and creating this new concept within his very successful chain of hot pot restaurants. Then next you have Bayer. Bayer is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, and its IT function is well known for high preference for multi-sourcing contract relationships with the technology industry. And they recently embarked on a data-driven transformation journey where they took data to be able to better integrate the different partners that they have within their ecosystem as well as their internal processes to ensure that interconnect is well maintained and that they always have a green dashboard within the IT operations. And then finally, we have Reliance Entertainment from India. And Reliance Entertainment, just like their counterparts in Hollywood, have begun to use AI to basically try to figure out which director, which producer, and basically which leading actor or actress that they will use for each script in order to actually improve the success rate of that particular movie. And which is why in the last few years, when you look at kind of the movies coming out from Hollywood, you see a lot of superhero movies. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is not putting AI into good use. But it tells you basically how effective this particular technology is in changing not only the success rate of movie production, but also defining the kind of expertise that you need within the environment. Now, in our recent global CEO priority surveys, 62% of CEOs around the world identified future of work as very important and a high priority for the next 5 years. And the number one challenge is really finding that employee engagement balance between flexibility as well as security. And their goal, or the leading goal, is increasing employee productivity and innovation through improved experiences. Now, these findings are particularly interesting given the current time. Here in the Asia-Pacific Japan region, where coronavirus is at the epicenter, 74% of the C-suite community are very determined to push ahead with their future work strategy because of all the changes that they need to put in place. In fact, we've seen operations shut down. We've seen companies who were previously not familiar with remote access actually putting in flexi hours, work from home. They're changing their infrastructure. They're expanding their networks in order to be able to support this new environment. Now, when you think about future work, it's not just about, a singular pillar, whether it's force, it's work, or culture. It is really about, bring all of them together to skilled an organization. So having the right culture, having the right process, and having the right talent is really critical for organizations to lead in the digital economy. Take Changi Airport as an example. Now, his CEO is very well known to exhibit an empathetic leadership style. His openness in resolving conflicts is well known in the industry, which is why setting that culture put them in the right track in terms of attracting talent. For Changi Airport, when they are trying to attract talent, it's not just about the hard skill sets and capabilities that they need, but it's also about the fit of the individual to the organization culture. That is extremely important. And then the last is really about having the right process. For Changi Airport, the focus on operational excellence and creating this new commercial value moving forward means that collaboration across departments, collaboration with ecosystem partners becomes important, which is why one of the latest initiatives that they have put in place is their Enterprise Innovation Factory, where they bring in partners from the technology world to help them to accelerate innovations to create new value for the organization. From a technology vendor perspective, the focus should therefore be around automation, agile methodology, co-creation monetization models, the use of APIs, platform-based, ecosystem collaboration requirements, and of course, digital factory to be able to augment companies like Changi Airport in terms of the limited skill sets that they have within the organization. Now, whether we are talking about process or talent or culture, one of the most important change that we're seeing in the marketplace is the role of the CHRO. In fact, 2020 is the year that we expect major changes, an inflection year, if you may, with regards to the HR function. The HR function is expected to be disrupted because this function has traditionally been very focused on processes. And one of the most common complaints we hear about the HR function is the inability or the lack of ability to actually respond to new market requirements and new talent requirements by the businesses. And therefore, for an effective CHRO and his or her HR function to really be an important contributor and be part of the organization transformation journey is to really look at these 4 specific areas. The first is for HR to be master of data. If you take SETS as an example, this is the ground handling service provider at Changi. And what the provider has been doing is investing in digital twins. And by investing in digital twins for its food production processes, it's able to actually speed up its scheduling as well as capacity capabilities, which is really, really critical from a HR function perspective. Next, we have L&T from India. L&T from India is well known in terms of their training program. But in order to be ready for the new workforce and bring in new capabilities, they also relied on crowdsourcing as well as their ecosystem to bring in capabilities that they otherwise do not have, so that their training and upskilling program is diversified and it caters to the latest and the greatest for their employee base. Then we have Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson, their recruitment process uses a lot of AI and machine learning, where talent recruitment becomes a very, very key part, and the use of technology is really critical for the HR function. Now, finally, but certainly not the least, we talk about Starbucks. And this is Starbucks in Shanghai. Shanghai, one of its outlets is actually the largest in the world, and this particular outlet in Shanghai, at any point in time, they have about 400 employees. And to be able to work in this particular outlet, each and every one of these employees must have already worked up their ranks in other outlets, and they have exhibited not only their wealth of knowledge very specific to coffee, but they are very good at customer experience. And in order to be able to work in this outlet, competition is extremely intense, which is the reason why HR plays such a significant role and understands, what drives success in their business. And so at IDC, in order to help HR persona and HR function to be able to add new value to the organization, we have created a list of use cases that we believe are important to prioritize based on the Horizon 1, 2, and 3 timeline. So go to idc.com and take a look at these use cases and how you can help your HR customers to actually step up and to really become the CHRO in the new digital economy. Now, when we look at, whether goals, or we look at challenges, or we look at best practices, it really all boils down to these particular checklists. When we think of organizations' ability to be able to be successful, hyper agility with intelligent workspaces is important. Think of the Starbucks example. Talent limitations, the talent challenge will not go away, and making talent as a source of competitive advantage will become more and more important in the marketplace. And Ping An's wolf culture and their ability to actually create new business units is one such example. Then, of course, you have trust and security, and these are the factors that are driving employees and driving customers in the new digital economy. And here is where we talk about employee empowerment, we talk about worker experiences, and DHL comes into mind. Finally, but certainly not the least, having an empathetic type of leadership and a frictionless engagement and speed is really, really critical in this new digital world, and that's where Changi is an important example. Now, when we look at the entire C-suite and we're trying to figure out what kind of technology capabilities do they need, and it really boils down to largely this particular list. Automation is important, whether you're a hardware player or software player or services player. Self-service and accessibility to pay as you go and mobility becomes important part of your portfolio. When we look at change management, again, regardless of whether you are a hardware house or not, change management needs to be part of your solutioning process. And of course, security and experiential user interface becomes really, really critical. So, when we think about, future of work and really in closing, when we look at this particular discipline, it is not just about skills, it's not just about wages, it's not just about machine. As we often read in media outlets, it is a holistic discipline. For future of work to become a competitive advantage for the organization, having an agile operating model is really, really critical. And that's where cloud consumption platform comes into play. That's where digital innovation factory comes into play. Future fluency skills will continue to be really important, in fact, more and more important for organizations all over the world. Organizations will be looking at, firstly, how they can make this easier through self-service so that their people can actually have more time that they can spend on training and upskilling themselves, and change management is an important part of their changing mindset. Then, of course, HR as the new business or IT partner, HR will play a significant role going forward in contributing to key business decisions, and that's where analytics come into play. And of course, security, given all the personnel information that they have. And then finally, but certainly not the least, when we go back to the millennial generation, millennials expect companies to basically empower them. Empowerment is really critical. CEO empowerment often comes with a culture of collaboration and innovation. And what that means for you, the technology vendor, is to be able to focus on outcome-based that can respond to collaboration and innovation, having solutions that deliver platforms that can simplify processes, and the agility to create new business models. So with that, I want to thank you very much for listening, and may you have success in this changing world and new world where work is evolving and work is definitely transforming. Meantime, stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. Thank you.